Hello. My little thingy didn't play because I moved. I had some computer problems earlier yesterday, and had to get in a fight with it. Feels bad, man. Feels bad, man. So we're here. Are we live? Did we make it? We made it. Yay! We did it. Hooray! Hi, hi, hi. Hi, hi, hi. I'm gonna give people a minute just to get on in here. Hello, welcome. We're on part 2. I'm excited. Apparently it's gonna be 3 parts. I was wrong yesterday. I thought there were gonna be 2 parts, but apparently there's 3. And I'm happy about that. Also, Puck is here. He's very just he recently just dropped his toy. By recently, I mean about a couple seconds ago. And now he's looking at me like he's really sad about it. There you go. Get it. Take the toy. Okay. But, oops. You alright? There you go. Okay. His toy's over there now. Alright. So let's get started. This is the second part, and this is on the Answers and Reason blog. So if you want to go find that, that is right here. Links will be in the description also. Evidence, the non-sequitur court proceedings, part 2. This is written by our very own Intrigued Feline, who has a guest spot, and this is their first guest spot that they've done on their site, and it seems to be going very well. So I'm excited for her, I'm excited for them. I can't wait to see what else they decide to put out, and go follow them there. So, introduction. In part 1, there was a brief summary which depicted the timeline of events regarding the court proceedings between Kyle R. Curtis and Stephen McCrae. Within these proceedings, evidence has been put forth by both parties in an attempt to support their arguments. During the deposition, there are several references made to the evidence brought forward by Mr. Curtis. It is for this reason I wanted to give the readers an insight as to what the evidence was and what was known and or asserted prior to the depositions. Keep in mind that Mr. Curtis had 2 different arguments throughout the court proceedings. Initially, the main argument was improper service due to a supposedly wrong address being used to send the papers. Later on, this was changed to the argument that he never had received the papers until several months later. Additionally, I try not to, roll my eyes. Additionally, most of the evidence was heavily scrutinized after September 6th, September 6th of 2020, by the way, when Mr. Potts had reached out to Mr. McCrae. It was due to this conversation that it became apparent to Mr. McCrae the reality of what was purported to be evidence in support of Mr. Curtis's argument. Allow me to preface that it did not bode well for Mr. Curtis. The supposed evidence that will be discussed below are kept to their smallest form possible, redacting information that is either not relevant or contains potential personal information. There will be an explanation on how to obtain the materials yourself, since all of this was obtained by public means. The evidence. Let's get started at the earliest affidavits filed by Mr. Curtis, in which he requested with the motion to set aside ECF 19. There is one particular item within this document that I wanted to highlight, namely the notary document of the affidavit. Take notice of line number 2, quote, court documents state that the summons was sent to ... NC 27313 on November 20th, 2019, address omitted. This is a date that could actually correspond to the initial notification on the order for default judgment sent by the judge, which is dated on November 19th, 2019, ECF 16. which is rather interesting as to why Mr. Curtis had initially used this date on this specific notary document. Please look carefully at the signature on the notary stamp and remember this. The reason for this will become apparent. I will leave this on the screen for a moment. Okay. As ECF 19 was incomplete and lacking any actual accompanying documentation that allegedly supports written affidavit requesting the motion to set aside default judgment, Mr. Curtis filed another affidavit, ECF 20, with the documentations that Mr. Curtis claimed to support his argument. Here, we get to see an awfully familiar notary document. Almost everything is identical to the previous one, with one exception. At line 2, the date has been changed and now reads, quote, court documents state that the summons was sent to NC 27313 on August 30th, 2019. Address omitted. It appears that Mr. Curtis has changed a notary document. This is simply not allowed. A notary may never be changed, corrected, or amended. The only way to do this is by simply getting a completely new notary document. Whilst this is a mistake made on Mr. Curtis's part, he may not be aware of the rules and regulations regarding this. If this was the only thing, it is rather likely the court would be lenient to Mr. Curtis and overlook this error, especially since he was pro se on his own. Oh, did my stream die? Oh no, we're good. Okay, I just saw like a really dip in my thing and got really concerned for a second. Nevertheless, the date on this notary document now refers to the initial papers in which Mr. Curtis was sent to be served with the summons and complaint by Mr. McCrae. Ta-da! On the next page, a transcript was given with a link to a clipped portion of a video published by Mr. McCrae. The link itself does not lead to the original video. The clip and transcript are therefore taken out of context. Interestingly, later on in the proceedings, Mr. McCrae had presented several audio and video recordings that are the originals as evidence himself. Mr. Curtis's lawyer attempted to have those dismissed as inadmissible evidence, referring to a specific statute, NC Gen Stat Section 8C-1, Rule 901B1, ECF 37. This statute details that a witness testimony is required to authenticate the recordings, and since those were lacking, it should be dismissed. Mr. McCrae already had authenticated the recordings as true and accurate. However, in the event that it was to be deemed necessary, Mr. McCrae added additional declarations from the persons who made the recordings that they are authentic. Mr. Curtis has since ECF 20 not repeated this piece of evidence and therefore is of no concern due to lack of authentication. Hooray! Also, happy Halloween. Now, if we get to the first of the first of several interesting bits of evidence by Mr. Curtis in an attempt to support his argument. On page 11 to 12 of ECF 20, Mr. Curtis has filed what appears to be a rental agreement between Mr. Potts and Mr. Curtis. If you recall from part 1, Mr. Potts was at the time the boyfriend of Mr. Curtis. Now, why would one have a rental agreement with a significant other? Good question. Right? Right? We will get back to this later, but for now, take note of the date and the signature presented below. This will become, this will of importance later. I think you meant this will be of importance later. Most interesting is the inclusion of several purported bank statements from Discover on page 13 and 14. These are allegedly from August and November 2019. Both of these documents have multiple oddities going on that raises doubt to the legitimacy of the documents. The first oddity we see is at the top right of the purported August statement, as you can see. As depicted here, you can clearly see that there is something missing from the date format of the statement period, namely the year in the first part of the date. This is present in the November statement. This is not the only thing that was notably different. In both the August and November statements, the address given also had a notable difference in font when compared to the recipient's name. Here is an example taken from the August statement, address omitted. Take a closer look at the underlying letters in the address field and compare that to the underlined letters in the name. It is rather obvious that these are not all written in the same font. Ergo, two different fonts were used within this block. This has been noted as such in ECF 39. However, let's not get ahead of the timeline here and continue with ECF 20. We'll get back to the Discover statements later. We get to the last 2 pages of ECF 20, skipping the 1099 form as that is not really interesting, and yes, I do know that it is beneath the black box. Smiley face. Where we see 2 declarations dated February 10th by different people stating that Mr. Curtis was in fact living at the new address. The first one was signed by by Mrs. Curtis, the mother of Mr. Curtis. The signature depicted here seems to be authentic, though somewhat different than the signature shown on the return receipt. Despite this, it is generally accepted that Miss Curtis is not of concern to this case. The second declaration was purported signed by Mr. Potts. If you recall earlier, I started to take note of the date and signature of the rental agreement purportedly signed by Mr. Potts. The signature of the declaration can be seen below. As you may notice, there's a very strong resemblance between these 2 signatures. So strong, in fact, that you might think that they are identical. Here I would like to reference another video that Chesh, hey, that's me, made where she has been comparing these signatures in one sitting, overlaying them with each other. You guys want to play it? Oh, are we buffering? I'll wait a second. I'm not buffering on my end. Are we good? Are we good? Okay. I will play my own video. So I actually did this specifically without talking at all, and I went from nothing, so that way nobody could say that I went and clipped anything or had already made any kind of adjustments or picked out specific things. So I show myself going and actually getting the raw, like, right from the source. Yes, I accidentally live streamed it too. That's okay. It worked out. That's how you find the court documents, by the way. I wanted to show that too because some people were having trouble finding them, and sometimes that was because they were out of the country, so they didn't have access to them, but also sometimes people were just having a hard time getting to them. So they weren't sure where to look. The reason I scrolled through this so slowly is because I didn't want to give anybody a headache by going too fast. Oh yes, Puck, I know life is hard. Life is hard. Especially when you forge documents to a court. There's so many lawsuits going on, it's ridiculous. I have never seen so many lawsuits on YouTube. The times they are a-changin'. Hey, there's one of them. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah. The live stream chat was fun as we were all confused. Yeah. It's a really good thing I didn't have like my cameras or anything on. I was like out of the shower. Yeah, it would have been bad. I probably would have gotten my YouTube removed. And shut right the hell down pretty goddamn fast. Oh, congrats, Ink Boy. I'm happy for you. Hey, there's the other one. It would have been worse than the 7 circles. I would have gotten my whole YouTube channel down instead of just a stream. Because sexism. So if any of you have any questions about this, now is the time to ask. I love the snipping tool also. It is probably one of my most used and favorite tools. They're the same! They're the same. They're the same. They're the same. So yeah. Now I can go and copyright strike myself for playing that video. Now, it can be quite normal to have an identical signature for different documents by saving them and reusing them. In this case, however, the timeline does not really add up for this to happen. The rental agreement was supposedly signed in July of 2019, whilst the declarations were supposedly signed in February of 2020, roughly 7 months apart. Also, remember that in part 1, that I had already stated that Mr. Potts later would file a declaration that he did not sign these documents. More information had come to light alongside that would really cast doubt on the timeline of events on these signatures. Am I a broken record? If I say more on that later, probably, but just keep on reading. The next ECF in which Mr. Curtis files evidence for his argument is found in ECF 31.1. These documents mostly refiles of the same documentation we see in ECF 20. That is a result of Mr. Curtis now getting counsel for his case. The counsel, because he totally definitely had a lawyer beforehand that he lied about. Puck did get his frisbee thing. Thank you so much. He loves it. He almost destroyed it right out the gate and was unable to, and so I was really excited that he didn't wreck it right away. The modified notary document rental agreement, discover statements, and 1099 form see a return here. At this point, throughout the court proceedings, we have no new information as denoted in the previous installment of this series. In ECF 33.1, Mr. Curtis also changed his argument from served at the wrong address to never having received the papers until several months later. The challenge. Throughout the posts, I have given several indications as to what has challenged some of the evidence put forward by Mr. Curtis, primarily the assertion by Mr. Potts that the documents filed by Mr. Curtis that allegedly have Mr. Potts' signature on them were not signed by Mr. Potts. Rather, they were forgeries. Additionally, the visual oddities of the discover statements were also raised. Both of these can be found in ECF 38 and 39. In the days prior to the initial start, actually, you know what? 1 second. Give me 1 second. Hold up. Hey, there you go. Thanks. Here you go, Puck. Take it. Here you go. And now he doesn't know what to do with it. No, he doesn't want to give it. Okay. In the days prior to the initial start of the hearing, it was discovered that the barcode on the Discover statements could be deciphered using the publicly available decoder here. With this decoder, you can convert the bars above the address box into a string of 65 characters containing a combination of 4 letters FDAT. When applying this to the barcodes on both the Discover statements, you get the following strings. Okay. And TTFFFTDTFFFTDAAFFDFFAADFFFDFFADFFDAATFFAD The top line is from the November statement, and the bottom line is from the August statement. When parsed through the decoder, you get the delivery zip code of where the letter is being sent to, as these barcodes are used by machines to sort the mail. Go figure. As we can see from the earlier picture where I addressed the font issues, the zip code of that address was 28263. The decoder gives a different zip code, as you can see below. This zip code 27313 does not match the zip code used for the service of the papers, indicating that the address shown on the Discover statements are altered. Within the address block, there is also a data matrix code that can be scanned. Scanning the supposed August statement show that the statement was generated on November 1st, 2019. When one scans the November statement, it shows that the statement was generated on December 1st, 2019. The former would be odd, as it indicates that this statement was actually an October statement. Ta-da! And no, I'm not reading it again. 27313. As a result of the... Oh, I'll leave this on screen for a little bit longer, sorry. As a result of the aforementioned information coming to light, the hearing was postponed by several days so that both Mr. Curtis and the court were given some time to respond and investigate, respectively. Mr. Curtis responded with his filing of ECF 44.1. In that affidavit, he submitted new evidence in an attempt to support his continued argument that he lived elsewhere. First of these new pieces of evidence shown is an Amazon receipt with order number 111-2567081-7056237, dated supposedly August 4th of 2019. As a result of previous discoveries regarding the signature and Discover statements, this too was heavily scrutinized. It was noted that the text color of the delivery date was slightly off. Additionally, the address wasn't in bold. More interestingly, the order number, an anonymous source, had shown a picture with this specific order number also showing the shipment date being the January 7th. A whole 5 months later. The next item being shown is a W-9 form. Interestingly, due to it being slanted, it indicates that it is scanned. Additionally, all of the shown information is filled in with Adobe. This includes a black box. It is trivially easy to look under each of the black boxes, either by simply removing them with a premium version of Adobe, or by simply copying the image if it is an image upon which the black box was placed. When uncovered, it shows a purely white box. There was no information there to begin with, which appears to me as misleading. Ta-da! That's weird. There are multiple items that are presented like this. A document that is intended to be showing something but covered up because it would otherwise be visible for the public. However, underneath that cover there's actually nothing there, as can be shown for the ACH form on the next page, as well as another example for on the page after that. Why is there nothing? Why? That's so bizarre. That was so weird. It doesn't end here. Like, if you're going to... Okay. My brain is processing this now. So if you were to do this, you could just fill it out, right, and then block it out so that way it actually... Why would you not... Like, it just seems like it's lazy. Whatever. What do I know? It doesn't end here. The next exhibit shown in ECF 44.1 is a mail interaction between Mr. Potts and Mr. Curtis, where they refer back to the supposed signing of the declaration supposedly occurred in February several months earlier. Here, Mr. Curtis left out a bit of his message to Mr. Potts. In this redacted part of the message, Mr. Curtis is essentially threatening Mr. Potts, and there is still more to come. But wait, there's more! And here, yeah, I'll read them, okay. So this is what Kyle said to Ben, and there's the date, 09/06/20. Forging your signature? I didn't forge anything. Do you not remember the conversation we had? Bracket, because I have the screenshots in case you don't. That turned out to be a lie. Where I said there's something you need to sign, and you responded playfully with a winky, sticky tongue out emoji, and then followed it up with whatever you need, ? I'll be happy to send that on over if you don't. Those screenshots aren't going to look good in court. They're not going to look good because they're not there. You're going to look just like what you are, a vindictive ex. You signed it that night after we went to Billy Jack's, or do you not remember because you were drunk as usual? I wouldn't forge anything knowing you could come back and say it wasn't you. Argument, Adam, I am not stupid, except you are, and you did. Oh, sorry, I'm overdoing it. And I didn't end up using that in my motion anyway because I figured you'd try and start shit. Do whatever you want, Ben, but I promise you that I will make sure you lose your job and everyone knows about you. You know what I mean. If that's worth it, to you, do. And then it cuts off. Bruh. I mean, we all kind of got to know Ben now, at least. I mean, by got to know, I mean, like, he's shown up and he's been public and he's come public and had interviews. He's been great. Next up are purported Zelle payments. Mr. Potts already stated that these payments were not correct and actually happened in January/February of this year. It is unfortunate that confirmation from Zelle themselves only came after the deposition. Despite that, even within the screenshots of Zelle presented by Mr. Curtis, there was a discrepancy found that indicated this to also be modified. There is about 15 pixel discrepancy between the dates as shown on the image. Yeah, they don't line up. It's so weird. Well, I mean, we know why now, but like, do a better job. We're not done yet, as Mr. Curtis... Wait, there's more! We're not done yet, as Mr. Curtis also provided a purported screenshot of him showing to be logged in on his bank account at Discover. There are numerous oddities to be found here. To show all the things that are wrong with this screenshot, I could post it in its entirety and call it a day. Or I could show you and explain each oddity in rapid fire. Let's go with the latter, shall we? In the picture below, I marked several of the oddities. Mind, this is probably not the complete number of things that are out of place or just have some sort of issue. Let's get started. 1. The browser appears to be Chrome, which does not allow, in my experience, to have tabs so far to the left as this does. There is number 2. There's a duplicate set of transformation lines between the Chrome interface and the website. It is a duplicate of 3 pixels thick. So that's this. 3. Mr. Curtis stated that I can hold on. Open image, new tab. Let's actually take a closer look. 1, 2, 3. So you guys can kind of get a look at what I'm looking at. I'll just leave this up for a second and then I'll scroll over. There we go. Yes, prison and jail are different. I think I can save that for another time with people that are more experienced than I am about that, because I do not live in America. Not from America land. And then up here, there's 12 up here. This was so bizarre. 13's way down over here. 8. There you go. Alright, hopefully that's long enough for you guys to take a good look at it and kind of know what we're looking at. The browser appears to be Chrome, which number 1, the browser appears to be Chrome, which does not allow, in my experience, to have tabs so far to the left as this does. 2, there is a duplicate set of transformation lines between Chrome interface and the website. It is a duplicate of 3 pixels thick. 3, Mr. Curtis stated that he had supposedly only received his statement through a downloaded, then why would it fall under statements rather than paperless statements? The latter would only be more logical option if it was download only. 4, where is the November statement? 5, good question. Fuck. Hey, what are you doing? Yeah, life's hard. 5, normally PDF documents on websites are shown embedded. Here we see it is not being embedded. 6, the same barcode showing zip code 27313. 7, the same font errors. 8, the page is cut off at the bottom. 9, the data matrix shows the bank statement was created on November 1st, 2019. 10, the same date error, missing the year. 11, out of place zoom options. 12, no window management options present. 13, an odd cutoff area usually seen throughout the bottom of a web page. That's a lot. That's a lot. After the hearing, however, someone named... Oh, I've not zoomed in anymore. Whoop, whoop. There we go. There we go. Now you should be able to see better. Boop, ba-doop, 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 boop, boop. After the hearing, however, someone named Ruhif was trying to look into the Discover statements and managed to recreate a method to extract the Adobe document code. This code allows one to see what is really going on with any content of any Adobe document. The idea of this isn't new and not specifically related to Adobe. Ruhif was seemingly inspired by this article. In short, that article talks about a different case in which modified documentations were discovered that were changed through the use of Adobe. The specific changes were highlighted by something called a touch-up _text edit. When Ruhif extracted the code of the PDF Discover statements, he found multiple instances of the touch-up _ text edit line, indicating that the document was modified. As for the touch-up _ edit entries found within the Discover statement, Astronomy Live made an excellent short video where he explains how to extract the code from the PDF documentation from scratch. Hashtag not a coder. Eee. Alternatively, you can also follow Ruhif's explanation here. Hey, I need to add that. I need this. With the code, we can easily see the With the code, we can easily see the various areas where the text in the Discover statement had been edited. And with that, we conclude with all the evidence that Mr. Curtis has presented prior to the deposition and the debunking of almost all of them. This is the information that was known at the time of the deposition. Hopefully, this will make for a solid foundation upon which you can better understand the deposition analysis when I get around to doing that. The deposition of Mr. Curtis is about 117 pages long, so bear with me. As per usual, the publicly available court records can be accessed at the court's website, and search for either Curtis or McCrae, and you should find it. The case identification number is 19 CVS 8163. If there are any questions or comments, you can either comment below or reach me at on my Twitter at IntriguedFeline. Yay! Actually, that was a pretty good breakdown. There are some things in here that even I was like, I don't remember, or I remember like breezing over and being like, it's so much. So it's nice to have the breakdown from a different sorry, don't get sick from me scrolling. So yeah, the links will be in the description. I definitely recommend checking out. This is the Answers in Reason blog, and this is their guest spot by Intrigued Feline, and this is part 2 of 3. There will be that time of the month tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be talking about relationships, so that'll be fun. So bring your questions, bring your popcorn. That'll be a good time. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. There will also more than likely be I'm trading out this for South Park. South Park will still happen tomorrow, but there also may be a Goblin Reads tomorrow as well. South Park will be a little bit longer because we didn't do it today, because I would like to get to the end of that game at some point. Would be nice. There's also going to be a Rum and Coke later tonight over on Steve's channel, if I am not mistaken, so go and check that out over there. And hit the bell, because that time of the month is already scheduled, so if you want to go follow and hit the bell or get the notification, you can do that currently. That will be all for me. This was wonderful. I'm looking forward to part 3, and we'll see you when that comes out. Bye!